Good afternoon, traders. Hope we're all doing well. Welcome to the live stream for the 10th of January, so the second new one for the year, for 2017. We'll get into it. So just the housekeeping as per usual. We've got what you can see on the screen. There's a TradeSetup live stream site. If you'd like, you can join us if you're new to the stream or new to TradeSetup itself. Haven't really heard about us and you're just doing a bit of research. Feel free to join us on Twitter at @trade_setup, or you can join us on Facebook and follow us on Facebook there at facebook.com/trade_setup, or just join us for the streams or anything we put out on YouTube. You just go down to the bottom right hand corner, you see how to subscribe and where to subscribe at TradeSetup AU. So yeah, I hope we're all doing well, and another interesting day today. Market's down quite a bit, so we'll look at that in a minute. We'll do a bit of a market wrap in just 1 minute. But firstly, the topic for today, and I'm pretty sure I've got my video organized correctly. I just didn't have the sound out today, so I'd like everyone just to, if it's not working, just let me know, but I'll play that in a few minutes anyway. And the topic we're going to look at is a must-have for dividend investors. So I just want to discuss the way I would approach anyway, attacking dividends. If you're a dividend investor and you like dividends, I think, or my opinion is that you still got to look at structure in the market and the technicals, just to make sure that you're getting into something that's going to actually, if not do anything, but appreciate, that way you get more bang for your buck. We'll just compare that. So we've got two to look at today. We've got VLW is it's paying out a great dividend yield, and we also got CMW Cromwell, which is also paying out it's actually paying out a bit better, I think, than VLW. But I just want to compare the two. Towards the end, we'll compare the two and why we would pick one over the other. Anyway, let's get into it. How is everyone anyway? If we're all listening, all coming through loud and clear? We'll just kick it off and just see where the market's at the moment. So we can see it's actually fallen a bit of a hole, and we're giving up what we made yesterday, which is not too pretty, but we do expect a bit of a pullback, I guess. Our season. Now we do expect a bit of a pullback after this stellar run we've had from 50-50, pretty much the Trump rally, Trump pushing it up. We've also got I think US. Hey Frank, how are you? We've also got what do we call it? What do we call it? We have numbers out in the US, reporting season kicking off. I think the end of last year, so that's kicking off in the US. I think the banks are to start reporting towards the end of this week or later on this week. So I think a bit of focus might be drawn away from interest rates onto reporting and see how they go. G'day, Nathan. So yeah, we really do expect a bit of easing off. The US dollar eased off last night a bit, and we saw gold rally a bit more on the back of not really a safe haven betting, but more on the back of just the US dollar. Everything's sort of focused around the US dollar and interest rates out of the US. Um, so we'll take a look at the market now. It's my pretty swimmer there. Just one tick there. Here we go. So this is a 30-minute chart on the ASX. It is a CFD, but it pretty much goes one for one for the index there. You can tell it got sold down pretty hard on the open. We had that big run up, and that kicked off around that 52.60 level and pushed straight up through. We had a key resistance level around the 58.10 mark. Did pop up through there and then just backed off into the close. I think we finished around that 58.10 zone, and then overnight we just saw some selling come into the market and just sold off. Not strong selling, but yeah, it was a decent little sell off there, and we've just continued on with it today. We opened up and just headed south from the open, so pretty much back below where we started yesterday's session. So it'd be interesting to see if we can just drill that out a bit. Just drill it out. We can see really the key level is this 57.45. Liking that level. I expect if that does break, I think we could we find that this 5807 or this 5800 zone is going to hold. But at the moment, the trend is still higher. We've got another key level down to 5722. Did a bit of contraction there, only minor on its way up. And again here, did a lot of action and sort of test and retest down at 57.45. And then we just had that big blowout yesterday. So whether it is a blowout, we do pull back and make that major lower high on the longer term time frames below or around 58.07, and then that would imply we do get a bit more, a stronger sell-off. We'll go to let me just get rid of a few of these. So if you're wondering what that is and you don't get the morning report, this is just us, what we send out in the morning report, just daily levels just to keep an eye on. All right, just go into a 4-hourly chart. Yeah, so you can see that it has had a good move up, a very strong move up from 50-50. You had that big washout that's over the elections when it looks like Trump was going to win. When he finally did win, we've just had it heading north ever since, and it's been very strong market right across. We've just run into a bit of resistance. You'd expect to find some up at these previous highs. Ooh, not going to show up. Let me just go to a daily actually. There you go. So it's only really a minor level, that 58.10, that 58 zone, and we just touched up on that, just washed that out yesterday. Minor level, so whether or not it holds is a different story, but we may get a bit of selling coming in, a bit of profit taking, and then we might build more of a major. We could even head down, sort of retest down some of these lows around the 56.70 or thereabouts, sort of in this zone here. But yeah, we expect with such a strong leg out, we do expect a bit of profit taking, but at the same token, saying that, you wouldn't want to get caught on the sidelines if this market just keeps going. So, like we were talking about yesterday, if you are seeing setups in the stocks, and I'm inclined to always take a nice setup. The market's looking positive. It may be stretched, it may be extended, but there's no reason why not to take a setup. And in saying that, we did have one kick off today. We'll just check out what we've got, just where we're standing at the moment. So we had one kick off today, and it's GXL. GXL, where are we? There we go, 717. So we're looking at that push through 707, which we got on the open today. We were sort of just teetering there the last few days, sort of holding those highs, and then just popped through today. So we're currently long that, and you can see the price structure is looking really nice, especially the weekly. The weekly is one I really like. You can see this move down, contraction lower. We had that big washout of $5, and then pretty much headed up from there. Did have another go at it, sort of a really weak effort down to 6 and held up. And then we've been holding some weekly higher lows since, and we just popped out. So I think we could be. We'll just see how it all goes, but that's looking really nice. So that's gone from the watch list to actually a traded alert. We've got also have BRM, which is doing quite nicely, and they had an announcement. I think yesterday they had something in the Fin Review about the stock getting delisted from the ASX and listed in the US, but they've come out and responded to that, and all looking good at the moment. It's around 30, 30 and a half. It has touched 31 and a half. Today we're long from about 22 and a half. So we just want to see, we're taking half off on that one. We want to see if that can keep going and see if we can pull more out of that trade. What else have we got? That's pretty much one I want to show you, which kind of gives me the irrits. This is one we had going into the end of last year, GXY Galaxy. You can see what's happened to that. We had that big contraction. We took it on that high low. We had that retest this level down at 30, and then we popped out through the highs on a minor break, and then we pulled back. So that's a perfect ideal setup for us. And we took that through here around 37.5. And look what we took, some partial, and then just got out going into the end of the year. It's not bad. It wasn't a bad idea at the time to take the rest off the table, as it looked like it was just going to roll over into that resistance, and lo and behold, bang, straight through. We're currently trading 61, 1.5. So that's a bit of a bummer, but yeah, you win some, you lose some. That's up a fair bit more than what where we exited around the 50 mark, somewhere around here, 49. So that's really kicked on. Anyway, what we'll do now is we'll get into this presentation. I'll press play, and I want to see if anyone, if you don't hear it, Like yesterday, we had a few issues just with the sound. I'm pretty sure I've fixed it, but I just want you to just make sure to let me know. Just put it into chat there. And if you've got any questions, we'll get through it. It only goes for about 12 minutes. It's just on the dividend stocks, on a dividend stock anyway. Just let me know. Just take note of the questions, and then we'll chat about it after. All right, let me press play now and just see how we go. Okay, the trade setup live stream topic for today is a must-have for dividend investors. Okay, but with a bit of digging, we found a stock that I think everyone should be looking at. If you're into dividends and you love to invest in dividend-paying stocks, I think you can't go past this one. Now, the stock is Villa World Limited. It's VLW on the ASX, and the yields at the moment are 7.7% fully franked. So we'll go through that one today. We're also just going to compare it with another stock. Cromwell Group is ASX code CMW, and that yields 8.4% dividends unfranked. So we want to chat about the two and why we believe Villa World VLW is a better go than CMW, even though it's paying a higher dividend. Let's take a look at Villa World Limited, VLW. It's a residential property developer. The company has two major residential development brands. We just said one, VLW, and GEO Developments. Villa World Homes involves development and market of complete house and land in integrated housing. Under the VLW brand, the group develops and sells residential land lots both to builders and consumers in a master plan communities both in Queensland and Victoria. The other business, Geo Developments, involves residential land-only projects, where the group solely develops and sells residential land lots both to builders and consumers in Queensland, Vic, and New South Wales. The target market is the affordable middle market, predominantly owner-occupied families within each project's location. They have projects based in Gladstone, Hervey Bay, Brisbane area. We also got Gold Coast and Melbourne, and also have some in New South Wales there you can see. So you can drill down to go to the website. Let's just click that up. Is villaworldgroup.com.au, and you'll see a bit more information there. As we mentioned before, the dividend yield is 7.73%, so that's fantastic. It's very hard to go past a dividend-paying stock like that at such high levels. VLW also has a history of success and really producing the goods. It also has about, I think, 5 years worth of future development on its books, which really should, if it continues the way it's going, should keep chugging away. And we really do like, as we'll show a bit later on, we do like the technical basis for buying this stock. It's not only, I mean, you can buy dividend stocks and they could head south, which is not what you want. So you really want to pick something that technically looks great and the dividends are paying out and the fundamentals behind the stock are looking good, which we've just mentioned. Okay, just to add to that, we'll bring up a news release from the 6th of December last year, end of last year, for the first half of 17th guidance, 2017. Let's just get that. All right, on the 17th of August 2016, the company announced that its net profit after tax for financial year 16 was 33.7 million, and the company anticipates that financial year 17 net profit after tax, NPAT, growth of at least 5% to 35.4 million. The company just reaffirmed that guidance. The company is targeting NPAT unaudited for first half of 17 of approximately 19.5 to 21.4 million, dependent upon the timing of delivery of land and housing in Victoria projects. This compares to a net profit after tax of 20.4 million for the first half of 2016. It is the intention of the board to continue the payment of dividends in accordance with the stated payout policy of 50 to 75% of NPAT, paid semi-annually. The company reaffirms that dividends for first financial year 17 are expected to be at least 18 cents per share, fully franked. So that's all looking really good. All right, so it's looking good for VLW. They have some great projects in the pipeline to continue on with the good performance and keep those dividends or those dividend yields nice and high. So we'll look now at the technicals just to see what you can obviously see the chart there, just to see how we view those and where they could be heading to. We'll start by taking a look at the weekly chart for the major levels. You can see back in 2012 to 2013, the market started pressing higher, really kicking up. It was quite strong, and you've got some really good days higher, weeks higher, a bit of contraction, only minor, and then kept grinding our way higher until we got to about 220. These highs just in here, we had a bit of a decent enough correction, and then another push up just washed out those highs, only by a bit really. Got to 229 and had a decent correction back there. So we're just drawing that support zone. It's down around that 170 mark. All right, so we did retest that just on that big washout down there. Just rejected that zone though, down to 170. So you really got a good support zone there. But what we can see if we just draw it up, we can see that it's been holding higher lows. So you can see that push up, took out the previous high, bit of a pullback, tried again, just couldn't make it through this previous high there, and had a bit of that was a lower high really, but just only pushed down, got down to about 185 thereabouts, and got rejected again. So it did a bit of work after that, some lower highs, but also held a good sort of support zone through here. It was the 195 mark, and then just started lifting off there week after week, looking really strong. You can draw that in just in there until we got to really build that higher low in here around 208, and then we had a couple of good solid weeks up, just taking out those highs. The good thing to notice though, if we can just draw it up here, is it's really just in a nice channel there. So it really gives us a good some good levels to work off. If it just continues there, what we're seeing current price action is really coming off the bottom side of that channel, that support zone, and we've found that around that 217 to 215 mark, and it's starting to press up off that zone there. So what we'll do is drill down to a daily, just to have a look at the daily chart. Okay, so we can see that daily data of the weekly channel higher, and we just drill down to the most recent price action. So what we're anticipating is this level to hold up, okay, and this to be another major high low after this initial pressure up to 255. Had a good contraction lower, made some lower highs, lower lows, and we want to see evidence of buyers stepping back into the market and pushing this market back up through 255, preferably to the top end of that channel, which could take us easily to 280 or thereabouts. So we'll just focus in on the last bit of that channel there. All right, we can see probably most recent support. That anchor to that leg up is down at that 207 mark. We had a bit of contraction lower, as we just mentioned, and we've got most recent lows around 215, and we're just starting to press up into, we're going to find probably a bit of resistance just up at that 236 zone. What we are looking for is that it is coming out the other side. So we are starting to see some higher lows build, and we expect that to build. So if we get some sort of price action where it does pop out through that 236 zone, and then we want to see a bit of a pullback, and then another high low build for that push up and out, and then just continuation from there, continuation back up through the recent highs at 254 and so on. And then that should just work its way back up. If we can get that, we'll probably take it from here, I guess. If that's the case, we should at least be heading up to 260 or thereabouts. But either way, this price action is looking really nice. So when we're talking about a good dividend paying stock and it's got some solid fundamentals and they got a track record of performance, this chart is looking really nice, and we do anticipate that it's going to just kick up through 235, maybe looking to a bit of a pullback and then a high low to build, and then that should take us up. Whether it's slow price action, it doesn't really matter because we're more interested in the dividends than anything else. Now let's just take a look at another stock that is, like we mentioned before, CMW. Well, CMW's got different price action at the moment. It is paying a really nice dividend of 8.4% unfranked. So that is, from a dividend perspective, looking really good. But the reason why we would prefer VLW over CMW, a few W's there, is more to do with the price action. This really does look like it's holding that nice longer term channel higher, and we're coming from the support of that channel. So we're really just looking for a setup. You can buy it. I'm guessing you could buy it just in here, anticipating that little break up through 236. But we'd rather see evidence. So we'd rather see that little kick up, pull back, holding higher lows, and then an entry signal. But either way, we're looking, that price action is really looking positive. Now let's just click it over to CMW. That's not really in the same category price action wise. Let's just go to a weekly. Actually, just drill it down. We'll click it over to a weekly. So even though this is paying some nice handy dividends, the price structure is not looking as solid as we would expect. So the risk is that you get into purely on a dividend play, but the price action's looking quite negative, really. It is getting a bit extended on a daily basis, this is a weekly basis actually, up here at around that dollar mark. We can see that the MAs are pressing lower. So if this is the case, and it has broken some support at 93 too. You can see with that recent move lower. So we've had that press up. It really did hold this 93 zone. You see it banging around there. We had another strong leg up, took out the recent highs, pressed all the way back down to 93, and then we had this type of price action starting to look okay, and it did press back up, but really the key levels was right up here at $1.13, and it's really just contracting back up to there, and we've had that big sell-off, and it's really broken support there. So what we are expecting and what we see price action doing for CMW is more of, it could just do a bit of the same and then start just failing. If that's the case, we don't really want to own it for a dividend play, purely because this thing, you don't know where it's going to go. So looking at it from a technical basis, out of the two, obviously do prefer VLW because the price action is looking very positive and very good, and that dividend yield is looking very handy. Whereas CMW, even though it's got a good dividend, we want to see some sort of price action that's starting to look more positive than negative. Now, to us, this is just starting to look a bit negative. It could easily just kick on, and then it's going to be a great little play as a dividend. But at the moment, it looks like I'd prefer probably just to sit back on the sidelines and maybe just sit around and wait for a better price entry or a cheaper price, and then the dividends are looking even better. So really the two, we are picking VLW, so we'll see how that plays out in the future. All right, that's fantastic, guys. We'll speak in a second. Okay, guys, I'm back here. Thanks, Clint. Yeah, I was just listening to it as well, just to make sure everything was okay. So that come through loud and clear by the sounds of it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you understand, pretty much where we're coming from. What I would like to do anyway, just to give a bit of a rundown, I guess. Let's just get rid of that now. The way I would like to attack dividends. You got two stocks there. They were comparable in the fact that they had fantastic dividends coming through. All right, the dividend yields are up 7 to 8%, and that's great by anyone's standards. The difference is, I think you still got to be careful. You can't just jump in and hold them and pick up the dividend, because we all know what happens. A lot of times it gets bought up into the dividend, you hold it and it gets sold off. So whatever you're making the dividend, you can lose in the depreciation of the stock. So what ideally you'd want to be picking, if you have a few that you're tending to lean towards, I would always go for the ones with the best price structure. But at least if you can get something that's going pretty much sideways or up, I think that's ideally what you would like. So if you can pick it on the back of, anticipation, okay, these guys, Villa World, have announced they've got a good dividend on the books, on the cards, looking to pay out. I think it's around March. So I think you can really attack it quite well, because it's fantastic dividend. Plus, from the look at that price structure, what we discussed, it's looking quite positive. It's not appreciating, the price is not appreciating. It's not looking like it's going to explode by anyone's means, um, but it's heading in the right direction. You're looking like we could potentially just be building that base, building the higher low on the weekly basis, and we're just trending, banging around between the channel, pick it up at the bottom of the channel, hold it, you pick up your div, you pick up maybe some appreciation in the stock, and away you go. Whereas CMW, to me, is looking more like a short than anything else. Does that make sense to you right now? Agree? Disagree? If you disagree, I'm taking you off the chat. What do you reckon, guys? Nathan, you got any opinions there? Susan, Frank, Clement? If not, we'll get into it now. So that was it for that presentation. What we'll do is we'll do the same thing again tomorrow. Now that I've got it all organised, how to get the sound up and running really well, we'll just continue on that format. So I'll pick something, put it together, record it all, and just put it up and play so we can just sit down. You can always refer to it later on if you like as well. If there's anything else you want to talk about, if there's some stocks you want to look at, feel free to whack them into chat. Well, I'm just going to go through a few anyway. Yeah. All right. So I know there's a bit of a delay, so just wait for the codes to come up if there's any. Well, I'll kick it off then. We're looking at Alexium, as you know, if you're following the trade alert, the alerts that are coming through. Alexium, we spoke about that yesterday. It looks really, really good. Really like that that setup, and I think it's got, and you can look at where it is in a monthly. It's got potentially, a lot of fat in that trade. You just drill it down. The weekly is looking good. It's finding a base off that 50 cents, looking to get up through 70, and the daily, you can see, just remembering what the weekly's doing around that 50-cent mark. It's starting to pick up off that level too. I had a couple of good announcements, so we can see if that continues on. If it breaks through 70, I think what we'll start to see is a few people start jumping on board and jumping in. It is a little bit extended. That's my only issue with it at the moment, but it's heading on a weekly basis, heading in the right direction. So what you'd like to see is that really pick up if we can build that shoulder, that higher low, even on the weekly, and then that would drag, and I'd say a fair few more buyers. VLW, that's a good question there, Frank. I'm assuming there is. Most of the stocks nowadays have got options on them. I can't confirm what, how they're going anyway. But just I don't know what platform. If you use IB like I do, they should have some options on there. Just go through and get it on the options chains. It's definitely a good way to attack it too. Another one so this is just our watch list, what we're keeping an eye on. RMS, this is a bit of a bugger one. We were looking at that around this level, just going into 50, looking for that to hold. It kept chopping around and then just took off. Didn't get to set up. We were looking for that to punch up, pull back, build that higher low, a bit like we saw the other one. Not BRN, it's Galaxy. I was looking for something like this. If you can see that little high low in there, if we got that, but that just didn't play out that way. So either way, no complaining there. Just you win some, you lose some. That's kicked on without us. The weekly's still looking. The weekly is still looking good. You can see that massive curving base from say 2013 when it headed south, held support around 2014, picked up, built through 2015, built some higher lows in there, and just started perking up through last year as well. So really on a weekly basis, still looking good. It could be a big play on this one. We still got it on the cards on the watch list, but just waiting for that setup to play out. AHZ is one we had for a little while now. It's had a couple of these spikes up on some good news reports, and that's it's had that push down, had that spike up, held a higher low just above 30. Another good news report spiked it up pretty much right to that 55 mark, that previous high, and then it's backed off. So it was just, you really say short-term profit taking. Anyone that sort of held it in here is just taking profits up there. No harm in doing that. You can't go wrong taking a profit. Got that sell-off, held a minor higher lows as well around that 32 mark. And it's just picking up off that 32 level. So we could, what we want to see now is that push up through 40, or then like hold these higher lows and just work its way up. And if we get another good report, we'd expect it to do a bit the same. But that is a bit overbought into that daily, a bit stretched at the moment, but the weekly is looking good. We like that W pattern. If you can see W pattern there, we've probably spoken about it a bit. Just drill in that. You see that W pattern? It's made a low, a weaker move lower. So you'd expect weaker move lower would just drag in some buyers. So that's what we're expecting on VLW. Sorry, AHZ. Now, just to go through the ones we talked about this morning, there's obviously a few others here. IFN done $1 million. So we've alerted to that. Still really just waiting for a setup there. That you can see it's had a good move up on the monthly. It could easily have a fair bit to go. It spent a lot of time down around that 20 cent mark. So it was banging around there, 1, 2, 3 to 4 years, and then it's just picked up through last year. Had a good year, really pushed up higher. Little double top up there, but the thing is we're holding higher lows, and do like this type of price action. You can see it's sold off, kicked up, and really if that was a negative market, you would expect that to get sold off and straight through 70, that support, or that support level down there. It didn't held the higher low at 80, and you can see this curving price action. It's just when the volatility comes out of the market, but buyers are stepping up at higher prices. It's always good to see, and we can see that starting to happen now. So really just waiting for that setup on IFN. Let's see if that can kick off. NEA, near map, another good one I like. It's not doing a lot of volume just at the moment, but see the zone that's on a weekly basis. You can see that price action. It's had that push up, right back to 2000, big push up, bit of contraction lower down towards that 40 mark, whacked up through those highs, through 70 cents to get the previous highs, contracted back down again. Probably was attempting to go back up here, but it just got sold off, and that was through mid 2015. Made a double bottom. We've seen some buyers stepping around that 30 to 32, 33 mark, and that started to build some high lows, and that produced that leg up, which took out the previous highs as well through 80, 85, and just backed off from there. So if we go back down to a daily, just remembering that the weekly's in a good little area, it's come back and retested that 60 area and just built some high lows off there. So what we're looking for now, this could just be contraction back up because the key level's up towards 82. If you can push down, retest 65, say, as an example, retest 65 of that zone there, and then build a little minor high low, then we'd be happy to jump in that and just see if we can push it up through 82, 85, and up to retest those highs at 95. See how that plays out. It's one we've got on the watch list as well. Anyone else got anything they're looking at? Want to quickly run through? What we'll start doing too, we're going to start getting into a bit of Forex too, doing a few things on the Aussie, the Euro, the pounds, so some of those things, the US, it's always good to, even if you're trading equities, in the back of your mind what they're doing, because obviously if they can move quite strong, the overall indices and equity markets can move quite strong as well, which is going to affect us in turn. Ajax, there was something else I just had on the radar. Okay. MVP. This is one we just sent out today. Yeah, it's having a huge day today, nearly 10%. So this is we've spoken about this a few times in the past. Gold chart. All right, we'll kick on that in a second. I haven't looked at that for a while, so I think it's very much worthwhile. Medical developments. I'm guessing you all know. If you haven't, if you've been following the story with us, let's just go back to here. MVP. They've got a product called Penthrox. You can see, and that's been approved in a fair few different countries around the world. I could never remember what they do, but either way, it's been approved for sale in different countries, and they've got their distribution outlets. But what they're waiting for, and this probably rallied on the back of it, and peaked up at this sort of 680 mark. It's been sell off a bit since. The whole time it's been selling off. It's come up with some really good news, but I think the big one they're waiting for is FDA approval out of the US because it's a massive market over there. So it's anticipated they'll get that approval. It's just taken a bit of time by the looks of it. But the fact that they've got into Europe, I think into England, they've got a few other areas. They've got some. You can just see the news flow has been really good. Check out their website also, MVP, medicaldev.com. So check that out, and you'll get the news flow for them. Being very positive. And it's just now broken up through that $5 mark, which was sort of that contraction lower. It seems to have broken out of that now. Now, obviously, it wouldn't just jump straight in. I want to see that high low build, but I think the fact that there could be some news on the horizon there, I mean, you like to think that no one's got a heads up on that, but it can happen. So if that's the case, we're starting to get a positive. People are just jumping in, they're accepting higher prices. So they can see the last couple of days have been very positive. So just keep an eye on this one, MVP. We've definitely got an eye on this one. And we can see if that's just busting out of contraction. If we can get that high low build, we get an entry signal, and then potentially down the track they come out with it, they get that approval out of the US. I think that's going to open up a massive market for them, and that price should really kick on strong. Gold. Let's just have a look at gold. Then I'll just get that up another chart. Okay, let's start with the daily and work our way back as usual. Yeah, it's got a few key levels. It's the longer term view. Let's just go with that. Obviously, that's the highs up there, 1790 or 1800, say. Yeah, we had that big push down. We've got the lows to take into account down here, down at say 1050. When was that? Right back in end of 2016. Had a good, sorry, end of 2015. Had a good year last year. Pushed right up to 1380, 1370 mark, but it's just found a bit of resistance there. The key for me on gold, just not daily, just trying to see if it's technicals changed at all. Look, we could be holding up at this level. There's not a huge support level. It's just through here on gold. Just take, you can see it just seems to be building a big base, longer term base. But I mean, this is probably the only, from this high here, had that big sell off, bounced back up, had that high, retested it, and just made lower highs. So if you sort of take that as a key point through here at that 1430, making lower highs, and then we just broke up through. What was it about? That was about a year ago, just under a year ago. Broke up through there, and then consolidated for a bit, and then just worked our way back up to 1381. Obviously sold off, and we're still, the most recent trend is lower. Nothing to say on a daily basis where you just jump in and go long here. Obviously, just keeping in account that daily chart. If that's the case, and we are starting to break higher, you are expecting a longer term higher low, compared to 1050 higher low to build. Maybe that's what we're doing here, but off a daily chart, and if you drill down the time frames a bit more, you'd want to see that high low build. So in essence, what I'd like to see here is a bit more contraction for that move higher. All right, so you just want to see, if it's going to roll over, you want to see failed attempts, and this support through here hold, and that's around 1128. Because once that, anyone who's been short through here on gold, or is longer term bear, and you can see it is getting a bit stretched up at this level. Current level is 1182 on the daily anyway. MVP, sorry, Frank. MVP. Yes, anyone that's been short in here, if you're a longer term player, longer term bear on gold anyway, there's no reason to bail with your shorts, depending on where you got them. If you got in a bit late down here, it's a bit crazy, but you've obviously got out. You got in for a different reason, maybe on the intraday timeframes, half an hour, hourly charts. Um, you've probably been washed out now, but if you're on the daily and you're looking at this sell off, it pick back up and you were short in somewhere around 1230, sorry, 1270 up at this region. There's no reason to get out just yet. You could protect yourself, but technically you should be leaving your stop up towards 1340 or thereabouts. Lock it to break even, trade even, but there's no reason to get out in saying that. What you'd want to do if you do see those high lows build above this 1126 mark, then that's where you'd start to question your short premise and whether or not if this is going to hold up, because then you could get that longer term. Then you might find that this is a longer term play. It's a longer term high or low uh, on a daily, even a weekly, and then you get that high lows build. That's that failed continuation way lower. That's all you want to see. If you can see that failed continuation starts rolling over, and then buyers start stepping higher around that say 1140 to 50 zone, and then you get intraday high lows as well. I think that should lead us for either at least a deeper correction, because still the key level is holding this trend down is right up here. Does that make sense? So you could just get that contraction back up, and then from here just head south. Make the lower highs, and then we're heading down again, and then the shorts are still back in play. Does that make sense? Does anyone agree, disagree? Anyone got a view on gold at the moment? Definitely, I think longer term. Just remember, it's linked into that US dollar, and at the moment, the US dollar is still looking like it's just going to keep going. It'll have its corrections, obviously, but it's just going to keep picking up. Obviously, we've got Trump, the Trumpinator. If he doesn't start producing the goods like we've spoken about before and start, getting that inflation is all well and good predicting it like the markets do. They're always looking forward, but once they don't get confirmation, then you'll get a bit of a equities should sell off. You'd expect that if you get some bad numbers come through and things don't look like they're expanding as we anticipated with Trumponomics I've heard somewhere, the economics of Trump, then you'd expect the market to sell off. What I'm saying, so he's got to prove he's good. He's got to prove his worth, I guess. Um, if that's the case, and if he does, if we keep getting that inflationary pressure in the US, then there's no reason why the US won't, bond yields increase in the US, US dollar keeps appreciating, and gold probably potentially keep rolling over. But we'll see how that plays out. There's a lot to happen, a lot of water to go under the bridge by that. Anyway, anything else you want to have a quick look at? Does that help out, Susan? You got a different opinion on gold there? I'll just click back over. The market's still heading, well, it's still holding those down about 50 at the moment. So we'll see if that can pick up a bit into the close. But at the moment, it's not looking the best. Is there other stuff? GX4, yeah, it's still holding up. Really like MVP at the moment. MVP is looking nice. All right, if there's no more, guys, we'll call it quits there. Yeah, it could be. I mean, you just got to remember where the XJO, you put a few factors together. There are a lot of people we expected to do. I mean, look at the ASX. That's what I've got up there. That's looking a bit stretched. If we do a bit of a sell off from there, then if we do get that sell off and there's the lower high build on a daily basis, then it's really from the next step there is to figure out, is it a sell off, a major sell off, or is it just a correction of that uptrend, and then we build a higher low again, and then on we go back up again. And the same in the US. If that's the case, then you wouldn't see much appreciation in gold. You wouldn't expect. You'd see a bit of a sell off in the US dollar, probably a bit of a push pop up in gold, and then everything resumes because you got minor contractions. Sorry, you got minor pullbacks, major pullbacks. So it's all in context to different time frames as well. And you can see that weekly, that latest leg's looking quite stretched, but the overall price action is looking really nice. I mean, that big pullback, major longer term correction, pretty much a year's worth through 2005. Found the base, we started building higher lows, holding 50-50 is really the key level on a weekly basis. So got a lot of room to move down if that's the case. And then again, I guess you can say this is just the ASX, but we sort of go lockstep with the US as well. Don't forget. So if the US is going to have a decent sell-off, you'll see a bit of a running goal, but it's just all from there. It's just then assessing it as we go. And so there's just a major correction, and we build those higher lows. Actually, let's just see if we can get. Let's have a quick look at. What do we got? What do we got? Dow, DJI. This is a Dow. You can see it's just gone bang, bang, pop, pop, pop. Has a bit of a sell-off, gets ball up quite hard, and the most recent sort of anchor to this leg up is 1550. Now it's pretty much going to crack 20,000. You'd expect, but it is anyone's. I guess anyone's judgment. It's looking a bit extended, and it's right up there on the stochastics too. So we'll see how it all plays out. But that's that's a good leg up, and if that's a correction there, just this push, a lower high which got held up, squeezed. We've got people selling down to 15,500, and it's just popped up from there, built that higher low just in here, just above 1,700, and then it's popped up, pulled back to 1,800, and then just gone bang straight up. So it'd be interesting to see if we can continue with that strength. 30-minute Aussie 200. Let's push over to that. Yeah, I like that. This price action is really good. I mean, you can just see the anchors there. If we just do that in a different color. Anchor here. We've got one just in here. This, like we mentioned just here, these are so it's just been held up, sell off, gets bought up at these anchor levels, and then pops out through the highs. So really, are we just testing this anchor? And then we see these high lows build off a 30-minute time frame, and then pop up again. We might pop up tonight, you never know, and we could just be bought up off this 57.45. Just see what the 5 minutes looking like. So that leg down looks like it's coming under a bit of pressure, but this just contract up and then roll over again. And you can see it's getting a bit overboard. This is a 5-minute time frame anyway. So yeah, so I'd like to see if we were going to hold up this level, I wouldn't mind seeing a bit of a flush of there as well. We could just pop up, roll over, push down, flush out that level, and then go from there. And then you've got your double bottom, you've got your washout, you've got a few factors working in play, and that way, then the half an hour could kick in. Does that make sense? Anyway, let's finish up there, guys. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be on again tomorrow and the next day. So this will be back to a daily thing now that we're into the new year. Looks like we're off. Well, it looks like I just got booted off and back on again. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. So, like I said, we're going to gear up with some FX. We'll go through those, do the usual, and then after about 10 minutes of just going through the markets, we'll kick it off and we'll go into the presentation for the day. We'll just be looking at different topics as we go, things that take interest, make interest, well, interest us. So, like I said, if there's anything else you want that takes interest, anyone that's interested in something, just send it through to support@tradesetup.com.au or whack in the chat for the following day, and we'll just see how we go. All right, guys, thanks very much. We'll speak to you tomorrow.